Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Desmond Tutu. Does anybody ever heard of the name Desmond Tutu?
No.
Nobody has ever heard of that name, but I never know about him. So you don't know about him? Well, he was actually fighting for social change in South Africa. Now, who have we been learning about that is making social change in South Africa? Ladarius. Gandhi. Is there anyone else, maybe, that we've been learning about? Kai?
Wait, never mind.
You don't remember?
Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Good job. So those are the two that we have been learning about. So, let's see. Well, I thought that this book would be perfect for you guys to read because the title of it is After Gandhi, 100 Years of Nonviolent Resistance. And it's a book filled with all different characters who have made social change in history after Gandhi because of what Gandhi has done. So I'm going to be teaching you guys today about Desmond Tutu, and I thought it would be perfect because of the prompt that you guys have to answer at the end of the unit about our passive resistance and nonviolent protests, the best ways to bring about social change. So now we're going to learn about what Desmond Tutu did to bring about social change. Hundreds of people filled the pews of St. George's Cathedral. Does anybody know what a cathedral is? Ever heard of that word? A church, right? Okay, so they filled the church where they had fled to escape police. Black, white, Indian, colored church people, unionists, teachers, journalists, and many others had joined together in a peaceful protest. As the people marched, police blocked their way, hitting them with whips and batons and turning on a water cannon that knocked marchers over and blasted them with purple dye. They arrested hundreds, carting them away by the truckload. What does this sound like with all the police doing all this violence to people who are in a peaceful protest? Police brutality, right? All right, so now the police waited outside, surrounding the church. Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Does anybody know what archbishop means? Ever heard of that word? It's like a really high-ranking priest. So Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the highest-ranking black Anglican priest in South Africa, addressed the people. As usual, Tutu included the white people in his vision of the future. This is his quote. "The prize for which we are striving is freedom. It's freedom for all of us. Freedom for those people standing outside. Freedom for them. Because you see, when we are free, they will be here. They will be here. Joining us, celebrating that freedom, and not standing outside there, stopping us from becoming free." Who is he talking about when he says all that?
The white people?
The white people, right. He addressed the white leaders of the nation, asking them to come here and look at what South Africa will become. What South Africa is going to become. I guess he likes to repeat himself a lot. Just look at all those beautiful people. Do you really think that they are terrorists? Do you really think that these are violent people? Why do you use violence? His voice rising and falling, his speech punctured with humor, his eyes sparkling, Archbishop Tutu exhorted his people not to be downcast. What does it mean not to be downcast?
Not to believe in yourself.
Not to believe in yourself?
No, like he wants them to.
He wants them to believe in himself, right? Did you have something else for me? Not to be depressed.
Not to be second-class citizens.
Well, downcast meant like stop looking down, like look up, look at the brighter side. So now straighten up your shoulders. Come, straighten up your shoulders like people who were born for freedom. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, that was like the little intro. Desmond Tutu didn't begin his priesthood with an intention of getting involved in politics. Tutu's father, mother, and grandmother came from 3 different tribes. Tutu spoke 3 languages as a young boy and saw himself as an African, a South African, rather than a member of a particular tribe. When he was 8, his father took a new teaching job and moved the family to a town number, Tutu soon learned his fourth language, Afrikaans, the language of the ruling white majority. Now he could understand the name-calling and rude comments that whites sometimes directed at him. He was disturbed to see his father being stopped by police demanding to see the pass that all black South Africans had to carry. The aim of the apartheid system was, what's the apartheid system? What is the aim of the system?
A higher class of police.
The apartheid system, what's the aim of it? Darius? Segregation? So it's to keep the whites above the blacks, right? Okay. So the aim of the apartheid system was to secure the best land and resources for white citizens and to completely separate blacks from areas where whites lived. The past system allowed the white minority to rigidly move the movement of black citizens even though they outnumbered whites 4 to 1. What do they mean by outnumbered whites 4 to 1?
Like there's more than them, like more than them, like more.
There's more. So like for every, what does it mean by 4 to 1?
Like it means the like 4 to 1 they outnumbered them, like they beat them.
Okay. Can anyone explain more to me?
It's like more blacks than whites.
So there was like 4 more. So for every white person, there was 4 black people. That's what they mean by 4 to 1. Yeah. So in South Africa, there was not that many white people, right? Although his father had a respected position as a teacher, the Tutus, like most black South Africans, earned very low wages and were forced to live in houses that had no electricity, no sewage system, and often no running water. White schools had government lunch programs, but black schools didn't, so his family scraped money together for him to buy snacks. Tutu went around barefoot, inventing schemes with his friends to earn a little money. Despite his poverty, Tutu was a brilliant student who was always at the top of his class. When he was 14, Tutu caught tuberculosis, a disease of the lungs. He spent nearly 2 years in the hospital, and there he made a friend who changed his life. Have any of you ever had an experience where you met a friend or a family member that really changed your life? Yeah, lots of hands in here. Did I hear Miss Anderson? No. When he was 4, okay. So Father Trevor Huddleston was a white priest who came to visit the young black boy every week, bringing him books to read. Father Huddleston loved his conversations with this bright and engaging boy. The priest's attention and Tutu's long illness caused him to deepen his belief as a Christian and to begin a lifetime of talking and listening to God. Okay, Tutu wanted to study to be a doctor, but couldn't afford the fees, so he chose to become a teacher instead. This career was cut short when the government created Bantu education, a separate system for blacks with the goal of training them only as servants and laborers. Does this Bantu education system remind you of anything we have seen in U.S. history?
Banning black from white states or places.
Okay, the education system. Does it remind you of any education systems in the past U.S.?
Brown versus board of education.
Right, because whites and blacks went to different schools a long time ago? Exactly. So that's kind of like what it was in South Africa too. So unable to support such a system, Tutu quit teaching. He decided to become a priest in the Anglican church. At first, he concentrated on becoming a pastor who cared for his people and on furthering his education. Traveling to England to study in 1962, he and his family were amazed by the experience of being treated as ordinary human beings. They could walk around freely with no passes, could go through any public entrance, could attend any school. If that were to happen to you, say you were in Desmond Tutu's position, how would that make you feel? If you went to a different country and you just felt like you could do whatever you want, how would that make you feel? Angel? You'd feel powerful? If you could do whatever you want in another country, why can't you do it in your own country, right? What else? Does anyone else have any other feelings? You want to say something, Diana?
Sad.
Sad. Alright, well, his time in England convinced Tutu that the fight in South Africa needed to be against the system of apartheid, not against white people. Over the years, Tutu kept receiving appointments to higher and higher positions. With each one, he had a bigger stage from which to speak out to the nation of South Africa and to people in other countries. While Nelson Mandela was fighting injustice from within the prison system, Desmond Tutu was challenging it on the outside with fierce and enthusiastic eloquence. Completely committed to nonviolence and preaching a message of reconciliation between races. What does it mean by message of reconciliation? Does anybody have an idea what that means? Completely committed to nonviolence and preaching a message of reconciliation between races. That's right.
Like saying like wanting to change it.
Wanting to change it.
The word of God.
The word of God. Separate. Separate.
Speeches.
Speeches.
To make social change.
To make social change. All right. Well, we'll keep reading on because I think it's going to tell us later. Tutu became the world's best-known spokesperson against apartheid. In 1984, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Does anybody know how important the Nobel Peace Prize is?
Very.
Very important. It's a big award to earn. The award put him in a spotlight in front of the entire world. He called for countries and companies to take their money and business away from South Africa until apartheid was ended. These sanctions were one factor that pressured the government to abandon the system of apartheid. So, sorry, can anybody rephrase what I just said about what Desmond Tutu did? What did he do to end the apartheid system? Did anybody hear what I said? I keep seeing the same people responding. Can I get some people over here who maybe aren't saying it? You want me to read it again? Okay, I'll read it again. The award put him in a spotlight in front of the entire world. He called for countries and companies to take their money and business away from South Africa until apartheid was ended. Chris?
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's what.
Can anyone explain what that means? Dwayne?
Segregation.
No, it doesn't mean segregation, Dominisha.
He's telling them not to open up their businesses until everybody learns how to get along with each other.
Exactly. So he was trying to protest all of the businesses to just stop their business. So then South Africa, to boycott, to not do anything in South Africa until the change was made. Doesn't that seem like a really strong way to get it done?
Yeah.
Okay. So perhaps the most challenging job Tutu ever took on came after Black Africans had gained the vote and elected Nelson Mandela as president. A new South Africa had been formed. But if the nation was to move forward, the wounds of apartheid needed to be healed. Instead of trying to punish people for their crimes, the new leader envisioned an entirely new form of justice. Those who had been harmed under apartheid were invited to tell their stories to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Anyone who confessed wrongdoing would be given amnesty instead of a prison sentence. Does anybody have an idea what amnesty means?
It must be like forgiveness.
Yeah, like forgiveness. So they would be forgiven for the past actions that they did. So the 4 years of its work were painfully difficult, but the commission gave the world a new vision of peaceful progress. Okay, so is this what we thought of a message of reconciliation was like earlier?
Yes.
Because a message of reconciliation means what now? Reconciliation?
Yeah, reconciliation is like to have come back to me, please. You're saying your own thing?
Yeah, so has anyone heard of like reconciliation in church? Has anyone heard of that? That's right? Yeah? Do you know what it means? So reconciliation in church is like when you go and you
Forgive.
yeah, you go and confess what your sins were, and then you were forgiven by God. So this is like South Africa's government. You go there and you tell them what you did wrong, and then hopefully they'll forgive you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That's when that was so loud.
No, I do not believe so.
He passed away, Nelson Mandela. He passed away a year ago or 2 years ago, just recently.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago, just recently, yeah.
So does anyone have any questions about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and what its goal is?
About the, how did it process?
How did it process?
Yeah, how were the person supposed to tell what was the person telling the thing to the other person?
That is a really good question. And I actually brought an article all about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that we're going to read in a little bit.